मेरा ये ना
चालू करते हैं, आता नहीं लैपटॉप ऑन मेरा हो गया।
हाँ
मम्मी को बोलना डब्बा लेके आए इसलिए आता
Nitanjali ma'am, hello. Should we start?
Yeah, please.
Okay, ma'am. So, good afternoon to one and all present here. I am Abhijit More and I welcome you all on behalf of Maharashtra National Law University, Mumbai, for this national webinar on negotiation and conciliation skill. Maharashtra National Law University, Mumbai is one of the premier law institutions in India. The university has been established in year 2014 under the Maharashtra National Law University Act 2014, and it started its first academic endeavor in year 2015. The university disseminates advanced legal knowledge under the able guidance and mentorship of University's Chancellor, Honorable Justice D.Y. Chandrachud, and under the able leadership of our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Dr. Dilip Uke. We have various centers established to conduct advanced research like Center for Arbitration, Center for Information Communication Technology, Center for Research in Criminal Justice, Center for Clinical Legal Education, Center for Maritime Law Research, Justice ML Pensicher in Environmental Law, and many more. The Center for Postgraduate Legal Studies at MNLU Mumbai is established to provide the postgraduate scholar with quality teaching, learning opportunity, creating the intellectually stimulating academic environment with experience and dedicated faculty committed to provide the excellent education to the PG scholar. Since 2019, we have undertaken various initiatives like organizing guest lecture, webinar, national seminar, and many others. So, I would like to welcome our registrar, sir, Dr. Anilji Variad, sir, respected registrar of MNLU Mumbai, in the event. And with his permission, I would like to invite among us the chief guest of today's webinar, Dr. Nitanjali Prabhu Shetty, ma'am.
Yeah.
Ma'am is a practicing counsel in Mumbai High Court, arbitrator, and internationally certified trained mediator. Since 2006, she had her independent practice as a counsel, arbitrator, mediator in Mumbai High Court. Her practice is spread across the dispute resolution with special focus on mediation. Other areas where she has extensively worked is banking, real estate, commercial contract, private equity, investment, securitization, corporate law, cooperative society, trust, estate planning, testamentary, and personal law. She completed her Master in Law and her PhD doctorate in Environmental Law from the Department of Law from the University of Mumbai. She has been visiting faculty with the Department of Law, Mumbai University, for over a decade, where she has, pursued uh, relating to various subjects like jurisprudence, constitutional law, and environmental law. She has been notified by the state government as an assistant government pleader on the original site in High Court, Mumbai. Gitanjali ma'am is an experienced arbitrator and trained mediator in both private and court annex arbitrations and mediation, and is appointed as an arbitrator mediator in several cases in the High Court of Bombay. Thank you so much, ma'am, for accepting our invitation. Over to you, ma'am.
A very good afternoon to you all. Abhijit, first of all, thank you very much for those kind words. Though they, are shared by me, but coming from you, they sound so nice and achieving. Thank you so much. I sincerely thank our dear Mr. Anil Veria, the registrar, the HOD, Anand sir, for having me on your guest lecture series today. The topic for the day being negotiation and conciliation skills. So without much ado, I would like to, given the limited scope of time, run through my topic. So beginning for the day today, we start. Abhijit, may I kindly request you to share the screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Is it visible, ma'am?
Yes, yes, but partly, could you? Yes, very much, great. Thank you. So can we straight away go to the next slide? So I am told that, I will be lecturing, or this lecture is meant for students pursuing masters in law. Masters in law, as I remember, is something where LLB, we have finished our basics and now we proceed ahead to learn the skills. So negotiation, most of us have heard, understood in different dimensions, but today we'll concentrate on what are negotiation skills, also conciliation skills. I will try within the time given to cover as much as possible, but there always is a rider that any questions, any doubts in those regard, I'll try and address it today itself, or you may please email me through Abhijit, and I will be very, very happy to solve those issues. So yes, the, next screen.
I have already shared, ma'am. Changed to the
Yeah,
next.
change, yeah.
Okay.
It's visible on your right hand corner, but you aren't being able to select it. It's not moving.
Ma'am, I'm on the second slide.
No, what we can see is only negotiation skills.
Is it changing, ma'am?
No, I ask others. I don't know. If mine.
No, yeah, now it is.
Now it has.
Now it has
If you
changed.
go up, I think you've jumped now. We
Okay.
lost you.
Okay.
Abhijit, there's no screen.
Um, now, ma'am, is it
Yes,
visible?
yes. But you have.
Let me check, ma'am, if it
Yes,
is next page. Is it
yes,
the next page?
yes. Fourth, fifth, yes.
Okay.
Sixth. Very
Now it
good.
is.
Now you can go one up.
Okay.
There's a picture, which is very important. That's why I'm. It's not going to two. There. Okay, so today what we are endeavoring is a negotiation is a strategic conflict. My God, a big question. How? So primarily, this is what we are going to understand. At the end of the lecture, I will want you to understand that you agree with me that negotiation is a strategic conflict. Yes, next. So what is negotiation? We always, whenever someone tells us, I'm going to negotiate, I have a negotiation meeting. So we think of cocktail nights, tucks, and $1 million deals where people are going to meet up, and there's going to be high deliberation with clicking of heels, etc., etc. May not be the case always. When you're talking to your maid, when you're speaking to your kids, when you're speaking with your spouse, when you're arguing a matter in court, when you're having a question answer session with your professor in class, everything that we converse, the communication that we have, and the moment the communication presents a question where we need to agree, disagree, we are starting a negotiation. Only the degree varies. A degree from minuscule to mighty conversations and achievements or results. Yes, next. So what is negotiation? Simply put, negotiation is a process where two or more parties deliberate together to arrive at a mutual acceptable solutions. People may not always agree. Of course, two and more parties, yes. Deliberation, yes. But mutually acceptable solution may not be. There may be cases where mutual acceptance is there, but the circumstances may be different, the degree of acceptance may be different. Sometimes you are forced to accept because you do not have better options and alternatives. Yes. Abhijit, next please.
I'm on the next slide, ma'am. What we negotiate?
No, this your screen is not moving, Abhijit. What
Now?
we negotiate? Yes, now it is moving.
Okay. Yeah.
So what do we negotiate? We negotiate quantities. In quantities, we negotiate time, money, space, possessions, action, power, personal gain, win, lose, how much do I get? So in qualities, when you say about time, in qualities, you're talking about relationship. In quantities, when you speak of money, in qualities, you may speak of trust. Here you may speak of space. Here you may speak about intimacy, possessions, self-esteem. So what I want to say is there can be all kinds of negotiations that could go on. Negotiations which of materialistic things, negotiation of unendos, negotiation of qualities which we may sit and have. Some may be broadly put on the table, some are there somewhere deep down, not seen very categorically by all of us. Yes, next we come to negotiating terms. Now, what are negotiating terms? The issues first. What are the issues between us? That is, what do you disagree about? Positions, very important. Positions, what you want. Interest, why you want it. That is very important. Now, positions and interest are two terms I would like you to pay great attention to, because if you distinguish between what you want and why you want, you will come to a underlying thing that what you want may be a desire and why you want may be a need, a deep set need which ought to be fulfilled. So there is a vast difference between deserving and desiring. That is what is the difference between position and interest. Criteria, how are you going to get it? And Bhatana and Vatana will come a little later. I will explain in great detail. Satisfaction. What will happen if you get it? Satisfaction means what is the conclusion? What is the end result? How do I see it? All these are terms which you may be hearing repeatedly. Some of the terms are the meaning what they seem over here. But Bhatana, Vatana are terms which I will explain in a little more detail for us to understand. Collaborative bargaining, positional bargaining is something, again, we are going to learn on styles of bargaining a little later. Now, what are the questions for starting a negotiation? This is very, very important. You may have all heard that, you have to ask questions which are open-ended, which call for answers, not a question which just sits with a yes or a no. First thing, keep your mind goals. What does each side want? Accordingly, frame the questions. Alternatives. What will you do if no agreement is reached? Interest. What are the parties' real interests? So these are 10 pointers about how you go about framing the questions. But they don't tell you at what point of time you are going to ask those questions. But these are your main pointers. Under each of these headings, you could make your questions. A little later, I will tell you what is the research has shown what is the best time to answer those questions. A little nice thing which I heard somewhere by a very well-renowned teacher whom I adore, Kenneth Cloak. He says negotiation is a dance. So the ball is sometime in my court where I have to make a move. Then the ball moves to your court and you make a move, and the ball comes to my court and your court and my court and my court and my court and my court and then your court and your court. So this is like a bit of a tap dance or a jazz, just like so. What they say is the dance of negotiation in a conflict. That is a wonderful phrase which I just like. So coming to, as I told you, that I will explain to you what is the meaning of Bhatna. Bhatna is the best alternative to a negotiated agreement. Now, what is a negotiated agreement? When parties ultimately come to table, finish their discussions and deliberation, and ultimately are willing to put pen to paper, they are finally ready to sign on the dotted line. What you have at the end result after a negotiation is a negotiated agreement. Now, what is the meaning of having a BATNA? A BATNA means take A will be the position of a negotiated agreement, which is a win-win situation generally for all of us, or a win situation at least for you. Each of the parties, before they go into a negotiating table, they should have the best alternative that is there to a negotiated agreement. Meaning, this negotiated agreement is my best deal. But what is my best alternative? Up to what point of time am I ready to sit there and do the juggling? At what time is it okay for me to just walk away? I'm arguing on salary. I'm arguing on commuting from home. I'm arguing on what payment I'm going to receive for conveyance, for perks, for vacation. At what point of time I feel no, something which I already have is a bird in the hand, is what two in a bush. That is my Batana. My Batana is my present job. It is there. When I'm here and I'm arguing, anything which takes me a little better than the position today. But am I willing to compromise on commute? Am I willing to agree that, I will take high salary, but I will forego my health by traveling 1 hour extra? Or should I go back to my alternative? Should I walk out? This is a stance. So with the Batana, you enter the table for negotiation. So it is the best, like they say, it is the sunshine and the kittens version of an agreement. Sunshine and the kittens. It is the best possible outcome next to the alternative that you have to go back to. Considering a Batna means each party thinks about what their winning scenario looks like. And this is a tool technique whereby information is prepared in advance to have a backup option. So you realize when you go into a table that the best mode for me is this. And up to this, it is better to sit here. Beyond this, my alternative is better. That is a Batna, the best alternative. Now, Harvard School, which I have referred extensively here in all my notes, PON, that is Program on Negotiation, they say that, firstly, they have formulated an algorithm based on research, and it is thrown open like Wikipedia. So every time someone comes with a better word or a better comma or a better phrase or a better pause, it is added into this. So what does it say? To designate all available alternatives to present negotiation. In other words, what do you do in case of an unsuccessful negotiation? So as I gave you that example of the salary and the commute, and I realized that to some, they are willing at that point of time in their life to have an extra money which they need to use at that point of time. To some in their life, they may say that I have had enough money, I'm not willing to do the commute for just this much amount of money. Then assess the value of each alternative option. That is to say, how much does each alternative cost me? Is my salary the worth? Or today, do I need to concentrate on the commute or the position that they are offering me? I'm already at this position in my current place. Do I need a better position? Is that what I'm looking out for today in life? That is what I need to see. After you define your own BATNA, calculate the minimum offer you're ready to accept, obviously. So when I have something in the hand, my next best thing would be, what is it for that which I will let go of my present alternative? Then we have the next term, as I said, Malatna. Malatna meaning this is ground reality. What is ground reality? Malatna is the middle ground version of an agreement. It is the best estimate of a check outcome. Considering Malatna means each party thinks about what a neutral decision maker is most likely. So you have a Batna, a Malatna. Batna is the best. Like they say, it is sunshine and kittens. Malatna means what they are going to offer me and what is my head swimming in the cloud. Did I come with a salary package which is double than what I'm being offered? Am I being given a position which is 2 times skipping the normal position that I'm holding? Are they going to straight away give me the coveted position? I can dream of anything. Now, your Malatna gives you a reality check. Your Malatna brings you to ground level reality check. And when does it do that? You walk in with a Batna in hand and come to the table, you negotiate, you talk with parties, you gather information, and you realize, oh my goodness. Now, when I go back to the table again, I'm being brought down to ground realities. I am going to realize that the salary that I asked is way ahead than what my expectations are, or the commute is the way beyond what I had decided, blah, 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 etc. Now, this can be very difficult for people who are Kup Manduks, who are living in their own small well. So the lesser you are going out to the world, so you are working in a particular organization, you know the spiral of that organization, you know what the head is of that organization, but maybe you work in a sole proprietorship, maybe you work in a firm which is having 3 partners, you suddenly go to a firm with 25 partners who have a global presence, and suddenly you are brought down, and suddenly you feel that gnawing abyss in which knowledge is very scarce. Yes, so that is Malatna. Now, what is the meaning of Vatna, which is the next option? Worst alternative to a negotiated agreement. Now, what is my worst? So the first one is the best, second one is the most likely, and now this is the third, and this is worst option that can come out. Despite all deliberations, I know that, I am somewhere stuck. So what do they say? When parties negotiate the worst option, they have an opportunity to look at the subject of negotiation from a different object. So negotiating, deliberating, and doing the dance, ultimately you reach a position when both are not ready to give up. And suddenly one of the parties makes the worst possible. I mean, below the Batna, below the Malatna, below everything. And suddenly the other party is put back to reality. And the party is jolted into existence saying, either I do this or I walk out. And most likely, when you get a jolt, you feel that after spending hours and hours on negotiation, it is better to take away something from the table than go back empty-handed. At that point of time, the party who came out with that worst option may be at an advantage. So therefore, there is a need that you be ready and you keep on reviewing your Batna, your Vatna, your Malatna. There is one other phrase also which we all have gone through and heard, and what is that? The ZOPA. What's the ZOPA? The ZOPA is the zone of possible agreement. Now, if you want to have, for a ZOPA, what is very essential is that you must have common ground. So you have your Batna, they have their Batna, and the Batnas are interlinked with certain elements where both of you are holding very strongly, but both of you have some possible zone where there is a chance that you might start breaking, you might start giving in. Possible negotiation is possible on those aspects. That is called as ZOPA, area of negotiation, where parties of negotiation attempt to find a common ground. Now, if we notice in all the 4 terms that we use, apart from the terms that I had told you earlier, these terms are all those terms which are not static. You keep on coming to the table, you keep on gathering information, you go back, you review. What are you? And they are all personal to you. It is your ZOPA, it is your Malatna, and you come back to the table refreshed, again gathering more information, again pushing your limits and testing your arguments against the other side. Next. Therefore, what are the types of negotiation? Very, very important, because the types of negotiation will make us decide as to where our skill lies. What do we, can the other side push us to any one type of negotiation? The first type of negotiation is the distributive negotiation. What is distributive? Distributive is, there is a single issue, the price. both the parties are haggling on the price, like it is a common market, a flea market, where you say, he says, I'm not ready to go beyond this, my purchase price is this, how can I let you go? You say, no, how can your purchase price to be this? I just bought. So common haggling, where you haggle for every little thing. There is a pie and each one is trying to have the best price possible for that little pie. So process of dividing up the pie of value. A little later we are going to learn integrative, and I'll distinguish the two for you. This is called a win-lose situation. Why win-lose? Yes, because the pie is one, the only distinction will be the price. So whether the shopkeeper is going to have the larger percentage of profit, or I am going to have the larger percentage of profit. That is why it is a win-lose situation. His purchase price cannot be doubted. So between his purchase price and my selling price lies an amount, and that amount is going to decide the ratio of the win and lose situation. Next, it is also referred, negotiating with a merchant in a foreign bazaar. Yes, I already told you. Negotiating the price over a used car at a leadership. All these are examples of distributive. As I told you, the other form is integrative. So basically, if you go to say, negotiation can be basically of two types, largely distributive and integrative. Unlike distributive, integrative is a win-win situation. We have loads of issues. We can haggle over all the issues differently. To some, to one party, these issues must be very important. To the other party, other issues must be important. So what we can do is we can do trade-offs. Trade-offs in the sense, the issues which are important to me, I hold on, and the issues which are not so important to me, but very important to them, I could just let go. That is called as a trade-off. In integrative negotiation, that is what I said. In many, it is a win-win situation, simply because you decide that since there are many issues, we give and we take issues and we bring a win-win situation. Now, this is the next, Abhijit, is the distributive and integrative negotiation chart, where I told you, distributive, divide the pizza, integrative, enlarge your pizza. Distributive is a competitive type of negotiation, while as integrative is a cooperative type of negotiation. You cooperate to find common grounds, overlapping issue partners, overlapping interests, and therefore you're ready to willing to share. Distribute is a win-lose, win-win, zero sum. Now, what is the meaning of zero sum and a non-zero sum? In distributive negotiation, the value is totally 0 to 1%, whereas it begins with a price and ends with a price, whereas in integrative there is no non-zero sum. Both can share happily, both can have a common agreement, trade-offs, both can have trade-offs. One is adversarial and one is problem saving. One is position based and one is interest based. One is claiming value and another is creating. How do you claim value? When you haggle with a shopkeeper, you haggle over a price, so you're claiming value. One, you create value because you have something which that other party wants. You ask him, how much are you willing to give? How much are you ready to give? What if I give you this? Will you give me this for that much? So I get value. In return, I give him something for which he has tremendous value. Next, so apart from distributive and integrative negotiation, we have something called as team negotiation, which is nothing but teams. So where instead of having person-to-person negotiation, there are team negotiation where one team is opposing. Now in team negotiation, what is so different? So when one person is allowed to negotiate, he comes with his limited set of skills. Whereas when you have a team, you will have a lawyer, a chartered accountant, a company secretary, you will have all sorts of technician, an expert in the field that you're, and so the team versus team are there to give the major negotiator, or they can all negotiate with the table together, simultaneously putting forth the points. This is a team dance. Then we have multi-party negotiation. In multi-party negotiations, what you call as international organizations or municipal projects, where you have many teams or many parties negotiating on a particular tender or particular, and there is a huge negotiation why it should be given to you, why you are the best party, or why you can be the second best party, or if you are the best party, which second best party are you ready to work with, or you have this one skill. So when you're outsourcing, so the larger party calls all the smaller parties to outsource that big project on the skill basis. So that is called as multi-party. And then you have what you call, which is used, is one shot negotiation. Now one shot negotiation is you don't care about the relationship, you don't care about future aspects, you don't care about it. This is this one time negotiation you have. You just have to do it and finish. And people can be really nasty, or they can adopt unethical behaviors like misrepresenting, cheating, or just any emotions to just get past that. So we are done with types of negotiations. Now what are the styles of negotiation? Collaborative, competing, accommodating, compromising, avoiding. As the word suggests, there is not much explanation to be done there. So when you are collaborative, both of you want to have a win-win situation, mostly because you're collaborating, you're willing to collaborate, you're willing to listen, you're willing to understand, you're willing to do trade-offs, you're collaborating. When you're competing, you're coming with a high emotional stance. You have made up your mind that I'm not going to budge. I'm not going to give you a fraction of an inch. I'm not going to give you a hair's breadth. That is called competing. Only the degree of competitiveness varies. Accommodating. There are people, there are negotiations which can be accommodating, and where you tend to put other parties' concerns in the beginning. Now, for example, these are negotiations where you can say the other parties of very great interest to you. You want their welfare, but the issue at hand is something which you both don't seem to agree to how to go about doing it. So that party wants it to be done in a particular way which you know is not the right way. So accommodating the interest of the party, but keeping in the back of your mind that somehow I need to get this thing done. Take the simplest example which I want to drive the point home. A teacher, a mother, a father looking out for the studies of his son. He wants that, the child should complete an assignment within the end of the day. But then the assignment has come in between his routine going down to play, etc., etc. Now, how do we see that the homework gets done? So I want to accommodate all his other activities, but I want that homework done. Simple. So you have a goal, but you both negotiate on ways and means in achieving that goal to the best win-win situation that you possibly can have. Compromising, very different. Now this is much different than accommodating. Compromising is that when you are ready to move out of your zone halfway to meet the person to whatever level. So you every time that there is a suggestion, every time that there is a proposition, you're willing to meet the party halfway because you want to compromise. You're willing to compromise. It is very important for you. Only the depth and degree of the compromise is what you are looking out for. Avoiding, yes, very much. There are styles of negotiation where completely avoiding tactics are also played. That also, as also silence, when you say silence is also a tool of negotiation. Similarly, avoiding just by not getting into that entanglement at all is also the nice word used there is dodging the negotiation, is also a form of negotiating styles. Now, if we are, as I see, so when we want to achieve skill, obviously collaborative is the best skill and the most difficult. You can happily compete. Everyone can compete. You can happily be accommodative where you need to. You can compromise, you can avoid. But the most difficult of them all is collaborative. So that is why today, when we learn about negotiation, we need to learn about collaborative style of negotiation. Similarly, like about if you want to adopt style, you have to learn integrative negotiation, where you allow a win-win situation. Only then you have learned the real art of negotiation. Rest need not be taught. You have to learn to speak the truth. Lies are not taught. That is the point I'm trying to drive home. So what is the first stage, let's see, of collaborative preparation? We have to remember that the moment you are not prepared, the moment you're not prepared with the facts, you're not prepared with your batna, you come out over there as though, udhar jaake dekhenge kya hota hai. You're done. You're just done, because you come, whatever is thrown at you, you do not know how to handle it. And the other party comes fully prepared and learns from your this behavior that you have a lackadaisical approach. You are not at all skilled in negotiation. So the first and foremost is that what is it? The proposals will be from you. What proposals are you going to make? What is it that you seek? What is it that you seek? What will your batna be, malatna be? What will be your zopa? And then equipped with all this, you can go to the negotiation. The second point is entry. Now at entry, what will you learn? First, listen, 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 listen. Only when you begin with listening and listening, then you gain the trust of the other side. The other side feels at least this person is not interjecting, is not questioning, is not, yelling or having emotional bursts. At least this person is listening. And there starts the first step of rapport building. Then, most important, be soft on the people. You know that you have come to a table where emotions are going to run high on what they want. But if you learn to be soft on people and hard on the problem, so you don't let go, like they say, you don't have to be rude to be firm. You can just say, no, this is being firm, but no, I said no. Don't you understand? What part of no you don't understand? Now, this is like being outright rude, and you think that you have achieved a lot. But that is the first step that we go on. So these are the 4 cardinal principles we must remember. What is it? Listen, be soft on the people and hard on the problem. Set objectives, determine your goals. Set objectives, determine, and make certain that there is other. This is okay. The moment you like in mediation, we always say. So similarly, when you go in negotiation, upon entry, this should have been the first point. You have to ask them that, am I negotiating with a person who's going to make a decision? Or am I negotiating with a person who's for every little thing is going to go out and make a call and then say what he thought I am saying to the person concerned, who is a stakeholder and who is entitled to make a resolution? Then that won't work. Next, exploration. Obviously, after having entered, after having given this little pointers or thought, now you separate people from the problem. Focus on interests. Now, as I told you a little later, we'll be going in depth on interest and position. Like I said in a little briefly a while, so between deserving and desiring. So what you want, that is your position. What you need is your interest. So the moment you realize that this person wants this, he lives in a make-believe tower, but actually deep down his bhatana is this. Therefore, then what you do, once you realize this, then you create options. You create many options for that person, so that he finds it very difficult to say no, and he starts thinking on those options as at the end you can definitely push in a zopa and give him saying, now this is the best I can do, or this is the worst alternative possible from me, either this or then we walk out. After exploration, we do the bargaining. So we present our offers, we start taking positions, we draw up areas where we agree, where we disagree. We look out for loopholes because the figures that they are giving are not correct, or they say that it is based on some reports which are not updated, and we might have to go back. and check on those reports, etc., etc. Lastly, whatever may be there, but you have to control your emotions and be composed. You don't have to show a body language. You have to maintain an open body language, showing that whatever they may say, I have a right to consider. I will consider it, and I will consider it calmly in a meticulous manner, and at least make them feel that they have been heard. At the end, after the bargaining, after finding out we do the closing. And what is closing? Make sure agreement is better than your partner. Then it is worth. Write down the agreements clearly and in great detail. Confirm the agreement that this is what I understood, this is what I put pen to paper, is this the reality? And reaffirm the relationship. I'm not going to burn my bridges. I am there here. We have to meet again. We go further from here. This is a win-win situation for both of us. Now, there is another important topic that I'm going to cover. Okay, after having covered the styles of negotiation, after having covered the types of negotiation, one very nice thing about negotiation is the elements. And that is the first skill that we need to master, the elements of negotiation. And this is, the gods of negotiation are William Urey, we all know that, and Fisher, who wrote that books, and many of those books called as Getting to a Yes. So in that, they have effectively, chosen three C's. What is that? So the 7 elements are distributed in these 3 C's. What are they? Connecting, crafting, and choosing. In connecting, there are 2 elements: relationship and communication. In crafting, the interest of the parties, the option, and the legitimacy of those interests. Legitimacy will come a little later. And lastly, choosing elements. In choosing, what is the commitment of the parties and what are the alternatives available to us? So we begin with the first connecting element, and that is relationship. Now, what is the meaning? Am I prepared to deal with the relationship? Means what? So when we come with our partners, we come to the table and find that the other side is either lying, cheating, or the other side is not being honest, or the other side is highly emotional, or the other side is not as skilled, and it is very difficult to, negotiate with such people. But maintaining relationship is very important. What do we do? A good negotiating relationship is needed to address differences and conflicts. Some separate people's issues from substantive issues. So what you really need to do is, if the party is lying, you cannot tell the person outright on the face that they are lying. So you work around the figures and say that, is that supported with some reasoning, with figures? Is it available somewhere? Could we have some document proving that? Because if I need to have those figures, I have to pass it on to the people who matter. I have to have a basis for those figures. That's the way you propound a theory in such a way that when the person brings that material to table, he may say, oh, I'm so sorry. On the last occasion, I had said this amount doesn't seem to be. This is the right amount, and here is the paper that you asked for, signed, sealed, and delivered. Similarly, when you find that the other person, gets emotional too much, so question them. Ask open-ended questions like, "What is it that I said that got so much anger from you?" Or so then he'll say, "I'm not angry. No, what is it that I crossed my limits in what way?" So that is the way, without insinuating any emotion, though you can see it, but you want to further your relationship. Are you capable of that? Are we all capable of that? Are we willing to, work so much on our negotiation skill, so that our relationship remains unharmed, our relationships are maintained for the future? If not, then we don't want that relationship. The relationship is useless. You can just say, I think you're just being too riding a big high horse, which we are not going to reach anywhere, so goodbye. So easy. But if you want to fulfill the maintenance of relationship, then this is the only way that we go about. So ask yourself the question that, if I want a relationship, to what end and what degree I will have that, I am willing to go ahead with that. second, as I said, this among the C, connecting element is communication. In communication, we already went through active listening. What is the meaning of active listening? Active listening is active listening is, first of all, not appearing to listen, in the sense that you're doing this. Musically, you're nodding your head, but the simple fact of the matter is your mind is elsewhere. Probably your mind is already thinking about, how am I going to answer this person back? So this is the gist of what he's trying to tell me. What is my answer to that? What is my defense? If we do that, we have to realize over a year of practice that we will never be able to see the real purpose of what that person is trying to communicate. How will you? Because a part of your attention is completely thinking about the answer that you're going to. So how in the world you can say that, I'm paying complete attention, I'm just appearing to listen, I'm not listening. So active listening is listening, not appearing to listen. Like they say, justice should be manifestly done, not seen to be done. So this is a big difference. Acknowledging what has been said and felt. Yes, the moment you want to show someone, that's a very good question. So suppose I want to show someone that, next, Abhijit, the next slide I'm on, two. No, next. Yes, two. Yes, thank you. I'm telling the other side the complete gist of, what they want to, what they just said. I'm summarizing it for them. And I'm saying, did I understand you properly? Now compare that with just saying, but have you considered this? You said like this, but then this, did you consider this point? Did you consider my defense? What is the meaning? Meaning is that you're only interested in yourself. So the party, whether it agrees, disagrees, is secondary. But primarily, the party is not going to have anything to do with you again, because you made the party feel that you are primarily more important than the party. Next, listen to understand, speak to be understood. Sorry, what I meant is, yes, thank you, Abhijit, thank you. Listen to understand and speak to be understood. Very important. Listen. When you listen, you have to understand. For you to understand, your whole focus must be on what that person or they are saying. And when you speak in such a way, simple language, not going in circles. Speak simply what needs to be understood, so that what you mean and what you say are the same. Speak about yourself, not about them. So don't keep on saying, but you want this, but you said this, but you have understood what they have said, and now you modulate your speaking in such a way so that they will hear what you want them to hear. That is very important. And they will then speak what you both want to hear. That's the only way road to maintaining a good relationship. Yes, I'm going to go to the next one. I think I'm dealing too much time on interest. I told you I'm going to do it in a little detail. What is interest? Collectively identifying and articulating the interests, concern, needs of all parties. That is the most important thing to do. After you do that, identify, prioritize the community interests together, get on the same page, probe for your articulated or underlying interest. What is the real thing that you want? Share it, clarify it. Don't have speculation on it. Don't think that, this is what is the point of asking? It is the same. No, ask, clarify, see that it comes out of their mouth, and understanding that this is what they want you to understand. Yes, next, options. What are the possible agreements or bits of an agreement? Design options, not positions. So make many options, so that in between those options, some option will be acceptable to them, and then you can work around it to merge 2 or 3 options together. Create options to meet the interests of both the parties, so that we have a win-win situation. And when designing options, you have to do it in a way which is in a transparent way. Once you have understood that this is their underlying interest, once you address their underlying interest, they will also work around a way to maximum benefit and give you a win-win situation. Yes, next. Legitimacy. As I told you, among the C's that were there, we are on to the crafting element: interest, option, and legitimacy. Now, what is the meaning of legitimacy? Legitimacy means fairness. Fairness of both the underlying interest, the options that you create from them. There has to be a complete fairness for not only the win-win situation to come into place, but also to remain in place for a long time and give you that relationship. Next is commitment. So we have finished with connecting element, crafting elements. Now we go to the choosing elements, and the first choosing element is commitment. Commitment means what? Get a commitment at the end, not the beginning. Why? Because if you get a commitment in the beginning and there are deliberations, the commitment is bound to waver. But once you reach the same page and once you are willing to sign on the dotted line, it is then that you need to ask them for a commitment. Identify all of the implementation issues in the agreement, no possible surprises, plan the time frame and the steps. So bit by bit, now you break down what you have agreed into the execution mode, and in execution you put in a thing into place as to first, second, third in a chronological order, giving each one time and giving the balls must keep changing court as to the person who needs to perform the part of the agreement. Now we come to alternatives. Do we need to negotiate, or can we satisfy what are our interests in alternatives are compared to options are the A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So you have so many options are very, very different from alternatives that if I don't have this, then what? That's the meaning of alternative. Options means for one thing you have various roads to reach. That is the difference between options and alternatives. So do we need to negotiate? Can we satisfactorily meet our interest in some other way? Should we select and improve on our partner? So what are the alternatives questions that we need to ask ourselves? Now, as I was telling you, how are these elements used by mediators? So what mediators do is they work on the connecting elements by establishing relationship and communication. Like I told you, when you enter a room, first listen. When you listen, you create an environment, you gain their trust, there is a rapport building, and after that, connecting elements are you open the ground for communication. So you have sealed your relationship, you have opened their trust for communication. Now is the time to talk, ask open-ended questions and see what their underlying interests are. Then once you know their interest, you give them options. Many options, as far as possible, as many options as you can make available for to them. So that is you're working on. And then at the end, what you do is you and the legitimacy will also come there, that you legitimately, in all fairness, you may give your options to them, and now you're willing to commit. That is how mediators work on these 7 elements of negotiation. Now, of course, what is a good alternative? A good alternative, next, thank you. I worked on that. Next one, please, Abhijit. Yes. What is a good outcome? A good outcome is one which will meet your interests, which is fair, which may be better than the partner. So I have left a job, I've come for an interview, I got the deals in such a way, it is much better than the bird which I have in my hand. And it is a doable thing. It is not something which I'm going to retract or, think about it again. So these are all called as a good outcome. I promised you that I'll do position and interest, the fundamental distinction. This is all that you need to know. Things you say you want, that means that is a position that you hold. Whereas your underlying motive is completely different. These are your demands. Your position are your demand, whereas your interests are your needs and your concern. You cannot, say no to them. Things you say you will or will not do, whereas interests your are fears and aspiration without which you can't live. Those are something which we all, so our interests, our underlying interests are the real things that we want, that we can't give up. So now we finally, after going through all the do's and the don'ts and giving you a brief overview of negotiation, we come to the meaning of then what is a negotiation skill. So negotiation skill are inherent qualities that help to next. Yes, negotiation skill are inherent qualities that help two or more parties to agree to a common logical solution. I like what is written over here. He who has learned to disagree without being disagreeable has discovered the most valuable secret of negotiation. So it is like you feeding the medicine coated in such sweetness that the person doesn't even realize that it is going to do a lot of good to you both. The person giving you the medicine knows it is good for your health, and you swallowing like a sweet pill, thinking that I have just had a dessert. So in this, without knowing, you do a great. So this is one skill. So this, if you master this, to disagree without appearing to do so, then you have learned your negotiation skill. Yes, Abhijit, next. Like I told you a little earlier, between distributive and integrative, it is better for us to learn integrative negotiation. So same way, like, collaborative style of negotiation is the best because it gives you a win-win situation. Similarly, integrative negotiation is the best skill to learn because that will again give you a win-win situation. Now in this, what is the first one? Analyze and cultivate your partner. We have done that. Negotiate the process. What is the meaning of negotiate the process? Next one, don't assume we are both on the same page when it comes to determining. So don't pretend that yes, I know we are going to meet here, we are going to this, so many. Don't assume we are both on the same page when it comes to determining when to meet, who should be present, what your agenda will be. Instead, carefully negotiate how you will negotiate in advance. That means, first, the place should be neither yours, neither mine. It should be a place which is, say, where both the parties will feel equal. Don't say like, oh, you can come to my house, you can come to our office. Our office is very big. We'll give you the conference room. That is a little condescending. The atmosphere itself will not, does not spell, it's kind of prejudicial. So you say, what will make you comfortable? Do you have any place, where we can, sit comfortably and we can negotiate, know what the other person is thinking? Secondly, who will be present from your side? Okay, so we were planning that from our side we were having this. Is that okay with you? Does that work with you? So we don't want to overcrowd it, but we want this person because this person is an expert. Is it okay with you? That is the way you need to go about agenda. Most important. So you need to have initial pointers on which you both work. What is the point of going to a negotiation and you start raving about a topic which the other person has not even had a chance to consider? And the other person says, oh, I did not consider this. I came prepared for this 2 pointers. So when you negotiate the process, these are the things we may take for granted. As we already did this, build rapport. How do you build rapport? You enter a room and you start blazing your gun with, so this is my partner and this is my this and this is my this, and so this we start, and so we are here for this. So the court has appointed us for this. Let's start negotiation. No, not possible. So how is the weather? How did you travel? So small talk, which may not come easily and happily to all of us, but one has to cultivate that. So did you come by train? Oh, how is the train working in these circumstances? Oh my God, I can really understand that because I used to travel all the way from here during this circumstances, etc., etc. So we and our counterpart will be in a more collaborative mood when the other side, we put them at ease and they feel, yes, this person is very approachable. Whatever I'm going to say will be heard without judgment, openly, and I will be just like the way this person is speaking about the train, the weather, and my travel. same way I think this person will think about, what I expect and, what they are willing to give me. So this is the most valuable negotiation, that is building rapport. Abhijit, next, please. Then again, listen actively. This is, I think, more than 30% of my slides are on listen, but then it cannot be said in a fewer time. So resist the common urge to think what you're going to say next, and instead pay attention 100% to what they are saying, what they are trying to argue, and also repeat back everything back to them to make them feel, number one, that they were heard, and second and most important, to make them feel that you have understood it the way they want you to understand it, not to your limited or extensive understanding. Okay. Then acknowledge any difficult feeling. Acknowledge that, oh, is that the thing? Oh, I'm so, this is a little frustrating because I was expecting this and I don't know how we should go about it, and make it sound like a common problem. Not only are we likely to acquire valuable information when we listen to them, something like, they say that a person who listens is a person who has nothing to lose, only gain, because he knows what he knows and he's not sharing that at the moment, but he's gaining knowledge by the other person talking and by simply listening. So we go to the next slide. Ask good questions so you can gain more in integrative. Like I told you, open-ended question without so you came by train? Yes. How did you come, and was it difficult to commute till here? I'm so sorry, we kept it so far. Now this will let them answer, yes, it took me 2 hours, I had to change the train, or blah blah blue blue. Now, such question, do you think that's a great idea? The moment you say that, then you are throwing the ground open for them, the field open for them to make their suggestions and to tell us that why they like it or they dislike it, and what are the options that they are offering us, instead of the options that we put forth to them. So for example, this, can you tell me about the challenges you are facing this quarter? So for example, if you don't like that in the quarter month, like 3 quarters, they haven't been very honest and the figures shown for profits are very less. Instead of saying, my God, the others are so high, how come this quarter is having so less? Instead, you should say, can you tell me about the challenges you're facing this quarter? Automatically, they will tell you, yes, during this time, we need to file our returns, we need to do this, we need to, the raw materials come in during this time, and throughout the year, we don't this, blah, blah, blue, blue. And you will learn that you had misplaced notions, and it was a good idea that you didn't go all over them torpedo shooting as to the difference between the quarter. Now, what is the meaning of next? Search for smart trade-offs. I told you all, what is trade-off? Trade-off is something like, there are many options, there are many partners, and many things on the table. Some are very important to you, some are very important to them, but there are some which may be important to them, not so much to you, and you're willing to trade it off in return for what is important for you, and how you capitalize on it. That is the meaning of search for smart trade-offs. Next, this is very, very interesting. This is another term. I'm so sorry. I should have written it in terms. Anchoring bias. Now, we know what is the meaning of bias. But what is anchoring bias? Research shows that when a particular, the main elephant in the room is addressed, there is one figure which is, knowingly, unknowingly put forth by a party. That becomes an anchor. An anchor is a, when the ship wants to stand at bay, it drops anchor. Similarly, it has the effect of an anchor, anchoring bias. So the bias which is felt to that first spoken figure, everyone then seems to relate to that particular figure which was spoken thoughtlessly, thoughtfully, premeditatedly, deliberately, we don't know, but that is called as anchoring bias. Now you need to, if you are on the receiving end of an anchoring bias, you need to see and comparing it to your partner. You need to work around your partner, remind you yourself about the partner, and see that you need to scuffle this anchoring bias if you feel that it is unjust and nowhere near what you want. And how do you do it? again, you have to pick up your traits, your skill. 8. Present multiple equivalent offers simultaneously. Very important, a mistake which even I think even I do even now. See, what we feel is we have this notion that, so I'm going to strategize my options and I'm going to give the best option so that, or my worst option, so that when I build their trust, I'm going to give the other option. No, it doesn't work like that. Because the moment you give this 1-1-1-1 option, they start deciding, working around each of your option when it is thrown at them. Whereas if you give all the multiple choice options together, they are in a better position. Everyone wants to play fair in the largest of the terms, of course, exceptions to the rule. But once they have many options, if someone gives you loads of options together, you feel generous, you feel you can test your partners against all of them. Whereas if you get one option in a serial order, you're not able to test them, and you do not know whether the options which were given earlier are even presentable now, or can they be equivocally compared in that scenario to the present state as it was then. So that is something which you need to think about. So if you give it simultaneously, there is an option, then you can brainstorm it, you can understand it, you can always use it as your bargaining tool, that there are so many options on the table, so many offers, so you could consider even them. There can be better trade-offs. These are all the examples of presenting multiple equivalent offers. Now, what is the meaning of the 9th skill that we need to have? We need a contingent contract. So we need to know that, if we disagree, what will happen? Is there something contingent, something somewhere which you can make an offer, somewhere, which will reopen the negotiation, which will break the impasse, which will make the parties to come back to the table with interest, which will make them start offering anew, which will make them give options once again in that deliberative manner. That is the meaning of having a contingent contract in your pocket. And the last, the implementation plan for the implementation stage. Another way to improve the long-term durability of a contract is to set the milestones, the deadlines, so that when you put everything pen to paper, you don't need to deliberate it again and again to understand what was mentioned, everything is there on the paper. Clause number 2, 1, 2, 2, 2, 3 is all setting out the things which need to be done from A party, B party, C party, or whichever way it is. Now we come to 5 common mistakes which we make. 1 second. So we are on slide, yes. 5 common mistakes are, I'll run through quickly because we have to go to conciliation also. So we fail to prepare, like I told you that the first step of negotiation is to prepare. So obviously when we fail, that means we have gone basically unprepared, or not properly prepared, or not correctly prepared to the negotiation table. Then second, we focus on competing rather than collaborating. Very important. So what we do is, when we want to compete, either we are misunderstanding that the other side is, completely dense, or not, or you're way smarter, or you are not very keen to play fair, or the situation is such that you're ready to do anything to get that contract. In all these things, when you try to compete, you may fall flat on your face, because the other side may definitely prove smarter in many cases. So that is something that you need to take care of. We fall back on cognitive shortcuts. What is the meaning of cognitive shortcuts? Once you are comfortably ensconced in the negotiation, you automatically feel that you have understood everything, you have understood their needs, you have understood their interests, you have understood that what is it that they exactly, and you quickly make a move for the kill kind of a situation. And when you do that, again there will be a tendency that it may reveal a lot about you. It may reveal that you have not been honest. It may reveal that something which you have been saying is not the truth, because that is very, very important for you, but you have been playing as though it is not very important. You have been holding your cards close to your chest and not revealing the actual story. So that is the thing, that because you are overconfident, so you some flashy vivid information you just share across the table, and the entire hard work that you have done will fall flat. There is a nice book which I looked up, and maybe you could also take a note of this. Abhijit, can we go to 3? Yeah, one more. Yes, thank you. So Deepak Malhotra and Max Bezerman's book on negotiation, just a share since you all are doing LLM, a good read, okay? Next. So we let our emotions get the best of us. Yes, very important. As I told you, if you show anger, if you show greed, if you show frustration, all this will be charted against you. A little later I'm going to share the skill of how one can control our emotions. So if we let the be little composed and let the other side break down or have an emotional outburst, or play very composed, you will learn a lot of things, a valuable information which they read between the lines, things which they want to say but are unable to say, which you need to prod them on, and maybe you may get a better picture than by doing a outburst. Next, we take ethical shortcuts. Ethical shortcuts, we think we are very smart, and we know that it is correct. All's fair in love and war. We can use this phrase and just about get away with everything, or we can say think they did this to me, so I'm right in giving back a tooth for a tooth and an eye for an eye, and therefore I'm going to take this shortcut. Trust me, it is all going to backfire some way or the other. You will make this skill as a part of your daily this, and somewhere you will be getting hurt. Now what is as I told you all, this is what we need to learn, very, very, very important. Managing our emotion. Now when we say managing our emotion, when I say we need to be composed, Abhijit, the next slide please. Abhijit, are you there? Okay, so manage.
Is it visible?
Yeah, no. Thank you. Managing your emotions during a negotiation. Now, it is only mindfulness. Mindfulness is being aware, in stressful situation, I'm aware that this is what he's saying, this is what the team is saying, this is what is my partner. So every time something comes to me, I let it assimilate, I compare it, I think about the consequences, and then that is called mindfulness. Be present. I am here, I'm only here, this is what I am. I'm not doing any thinking, I'm not thinking of replying to you, etc. Nothing. This is I am, and this is my mindful. And how do you do that? Next. Sorry. Understanding your triggers. Now what are your triggers? You understand that you are this kind of a person. So if somebody says something like in a very unethical way, then you get upset. Or you find that people are playing games and going in a round way instead of hitting the straight button, and you get upset. Or you feel that you came prepared for a particular thing and that person is not going to say it, and you again trigger. I'll tell you something about court. Okay, so there are a couple of people, lawyers, when we read the matter for the first time and go to the court in that matter for the first time, you put forth before the judge, and you think that you have prepared your brief well, and suddenly the court comes out with a question which is like a whopper. I mean, you don't even know from where this question came, and you are completely frustrated. What you can do is you can quietly try and explain it in a way that you want, or you can simply be apologetic and tell the court, Lordship, I'm so sorry. I didn't prepare for this question, but I understand from where it is coming, and I understand that it's very pertinent for the matter. How somehow it has escaped my notice, will my lord keep this matter in 2 days time, I'll work on this aspect and come back, and you have won the day. Instead, if we also react in a frustrated matter, it has lordship, it has nothing to do with this matter, my learned friend is all mishandling, misrepresenting, it has nothing, your lordship. So the court will get upset and say, then if you think it has nothing to do with the matter, why don't you respond? Why don't you give the answer? I will decide, I'm the judge, I will decide whether this matter is having some meaning or no, or the response is having some meaning or no. You respond to what I have asked. Now, this is the meaning of a trigger. So the moment you feel that that person is not responding to you the way you expected the response, immediately there is a trigger. So you learn your trigger, work around your trigger, and work around that. Oh, there, my trigger is there. Now I have to work around it. I have to balance the switch. I have to tell myself, easy, take 2 deep breaths, ask for time, think about another day to fight, don't die today, etc., etc. So understanding our triggers. Next, so the next slide says that these are the pointers that we can use. What if my manager says no to my request? What if they say they dislike my proposal? Now all this is here. So what is going to be my go-to response? So the moment I know my trigger going off, I will use this sentence. Can we think about this? Oh, this is a wonderful question. Can I just take some time and think about it and come back to you? Maybe we could handle this along with that topic, so I get little time to work on this. These are the way you need to handle those things. Plan for a different emotional response. Now, for example, once we know that this is our unconscious way of responding to a particular trigger, now we have to know and find a way for ourselves that how we will respond when that trigger takes place. That's all. Different emotion, instead of the frustration that I normally do, or the anger that comes out, or the avoiding tactic that I do, instead of any of these, I will do something which is definitely going to help me. Why? Because I have identified my trigger and I want to practice mindfulness. Okay. Now, during the conversation, now you come to the conversation. So you have somewhere at the back of your mind, you have decided that now these are my triggers. Next, Abhijit, please. Next, yes. Three. So during now when you are practicing conversation, you have learnt about your triggers, you have mastered the art of what your alternative response is going to be. See whether you can put it into practice. See that whether you can practice mindfulness. So like, could you help me understand why my request was turned down? So see, you're asking for information. So when your manager says, no, I don't think that can be possible. So you say, why? If that can't be possible, then I'm happy with the present job I'm doing, mister. Why should I go way ahead than this? Suppose you start all this. You have made yourself understand, no, it's a trigger. So you say, oh, is it? So could you help me understand why this request of mine was turned down? Can you elaborate on it and can I work on it? Once you know mindfulness, once he starts giving you reason, you will realize it is not at all what you thought it to be. So the trigger was unnecessary and you have learned to master your trigger. So many achievements. Okay, now, in short, suppose someone asks us, do you have to explain all this just to tell me what are the, skills of negotiation? No need. You can have 6 simple steps of skill to learn negotiate. What are they? Treat the other person with respect. Anyone treats us with respect, we are at least willing to give them a ear, isn't it? We are at least willing to sit with them. We are at least willing to listen to their options. We are ready to understand their interests. We are ready to collaborate. We are ready to do integrative, options, give many options to them. Separate the person from the problem. Yes, therefore what you will do is, like they have understood you, you will understand their needs, underlying requirements, and you will try to address them. So they will forget the position that they held and they will come down to meet you with their underlying motives. Understand their point of view. Listen first, talk second. Stick to facts. Don't add mirchi masala and don't take mirchi masala. Keep it simple. So why not take mirchi masala? So when someone is saying something to you which you are not, agreeable, frame it, reframe it, and say, "Is this what you really meant? Is this correct? What I am understanding?" So that person will say, "Yes, yes, that is correct. What you're saying is correct. This is how I wanted to say it." So stick to facts. Explore options together. When you do it together, the dance, then automatically the dance will help you to reach negotiation. So that is the end of our negotiation skills, and it is 3:30. So I will come to conciliation skills. Yeah. So what is conciliation? Now we know that, we have all heard of the term of ADR, alternative dispute resolution. If you look at section 89 of the Civil Procedure Code, we all know that it sets out that, what are the other means of resolving dispute outside the court. So litigation, you go to court. So the others are, you have arbitration, what you say, lok adalats, conciliation, mediation. These are all the options set out for you. One of them is conciliation. So in India, we have what you call, so what is conciliation? Number one, it's a non-binding process, in the sense it's voluntary, flexible, confidential, and an interest-based process where parties seek to, settle their disputes with one person who acts as a neutral. So if you think that I'm talking about mediation, yes, everything is same except the fact that in mediation, the neutral will only facilitate a conversation and ask parties to reach a settlement. Whereas in conciliation, the conciliator will go beyond this duty, step up things to help them to reach. At every step, he will help them, suggest options, ways and means to reach a conclusion. Now, what type of conciliations are there? Voluntary, in the sense where parties come voluntarily, and mandatory, it is like under the Industrial Disputes Act or any statute where they say that, before you go to court, you have to go to conciliation. A conciliator will have to be appointed by one of you, and give your disputes a try before the conciliator. So as I told you, under in India, the conciliation, mostly in Chapter 3 of the Arbitration and Conciliation Act of 1996. I thought that since you are students of law and you are doing masters in law, I thought I could, do a threadbare help, because mostly these sections are never gone to. They are mentioned in a what you can say, a summary type of a form. But for LLM, better that we take a look at the sections by section. Now, what is section 61 to 81, part 3 of the Arbitration and Conciliation Act 1996. Now, what is section 61? What is the application and scope? So we'll say, of course, it applies to the conciliation of disputes arising from legal relationship, whether it is contractual or not, but it to all proceedings, and save as otherwise provided, and unless the parties have otherwise agreed, shall not apply by virtue of any law for the time being in force. Certain disputes may not be submitted for conciliation. In the sense, what they mean to say is, unless and until you decide that, this is a contract that we enter into, any disputes that is there between us, we will resolve it only by conciliation. Unless you have decided on that, there are certain matters which will not go for conciliation. That comes under the applicability and scope. 62 talks about the commencement of conciliation proceedings, and it says that like arbitration, it will be by a written invitation by one of the parties, and within 30 days, if the other party accepted, then the conciliation will start. If the other party does not accept it, then he will write a letter to the other side informing that you have not responded within 30 days, and therefore the conciliation has not taken off. 63 talks about the number of conciliators. Same like arbitrator, they say you can have one, 2 or 3 conciliators, and when there is more than one, as a general rule, they will all act jointly. Appointment of conciliators. So in conciliation proceedings, one conciliator, the parties may agree on the name of a sole conciliator. 2 conciliators, each party will keep one conciliator. 3 conciliator, each party will appoint one. and the parties may agree on the name of a third conciliator who will also be acting as a presiding conciliator. That is section 64. Also, section 64 talks about institution. Parties may say that, instead of we appointing, we do not know a particular person who has the wherewithal to act as a conciliator. So would it be a good idea that if we name an institution like, Indian Merchant Chamber or the Association of Mediation Practitioners or any other, any other institution who will who are proficient, who have on their panel expert conciliators who do the job rather well, then they may agree that we are going to request this institution to name the conciliator. Excuse me for a moment. All right. Then we have section 65. Section 6. So when the conciliator comes on board and he wants to start the hearing, so he shall request each of the party, like we have in arbitration, a statement of claim. Similarly, the conciliator will request parties to file their dispute statement, responses. He can at any point of time, say that I'm not happy with these documents, and after having read them, I feel that you should additionally file this document so that we can take this point a little further. So we notice that in arbitration, in conciliation, both the places, they go with the help of the papers where the case is set out in the pleadings before them. Whereas in mediation, there is no need of any paper. The mediators are appointed, or mediator is appointed, and the parties just sit there and narrate their issues, and without the mediator ever having to refer to any documents. And even if documents are referred, notes are made, as per the confidentiality clause, everything is shredded and forgotten. Next, we come to section 66. Conciliator not bound by certain enactments. So obviously, the strict rules of Civil Procedure Code and Indian Evidence Act will not apply. But then, of course, the common parlance, the common rules will definitely apply, because if you see, maximum of the Code of Civil Procedure and Evidence Act is based on justice to be manifestly done. So obviously, like the rule of audi ultra partem, like all parties have a right to be heard. Then filing of pleadings, it should be in all fairness, etc., etc. But strict law of the strict rules of procedure will not apply. Then we have the role of a conciliator. What is the role of the conciliator? Will then assist the parties to you start first, since it is the issues have been, they are your claims and we are meeting here to resolve those. Then where the responses will be there, so he can meet them jointly, he can meet them singly, he can meet them together, he can meet them at various points of time, he can make proposals, he can make options, he can generate many options for them, and make them see why a particular option is good for them or bad for them, but he has to do it in unbiased and impartial way, of course. He's also section 68 gives him the right to have an alternative steno or expert, if they need to call, if it is agreeable to all the parties, or a place to sit. So those are the things which are allowed in section 68. Now, communication between conciliator and parties. So the law provides that the conciliator has a right to call the parties, to communicate with them both orally and writing, and he can meet them at a place where they have commonly agreed mutually, at a mutual date convenient to everybody, where they can have the conciliation proceeding. Section 70 talks about disclosure, of course, that if any party makes a disclosure of information which it doesn't want the conciliator to share with the other side, the conciliator will not share it. And where it but that information is very necessary for the other side to make a to think about an option, then the conciliator will necessarily have to disclose that, because that will otherwise fail the rules of natural justice. Cooperation with of parties with the conciliator. Of course, parties are required that if they want to come to a common conclusion, if they have to cooperate in whatever way, if there are any issues which they are not agreeable with the conciliator, they need to sort it out, but give him the full cooperation. Suggestions by parties for settlement of dispute. So each party can initiate or invite, submit suggestions, create options which may work to their advantage for the conciliator to consider. Once they have reached an agreement, then it is for the conciliator to draw up an agreement, or he may ask the parties to draw up an agreement, and then he may go through pointers by pointers with them, make the necessary changes, give it to them. They may make changes, it is resubmitted to them, so it can go back and forth till once and for all, when they have signed on the dotted line, then it becomes final and binding on all of them. Then you can't say that conciliation is non-binding. Once you have signed on the dotted line, it's section 74 says the settlement agreement shall have the same status and effect as if it is an arbitral award under section 30. So arbitral award, what does it say? Arbitral award under section 30 becomes in effect an award the moment it is signed and copies are given to the parties. So the parties, the award becomes binding on them unless it is challenged under section 34. Otherwise, once the period of limitation is over, then the parties who have to execute can go ahead and execute the award. Then we have a confidentiality under section 17, that confidentiality is notwithstanding anything, the proceedings will obviously be confidential. It won't be everything which goes on will be within the four corners of that wall. For any reason, their conciliation proceedings can be terminated by signing of the settlement, of course, on the date of agreement, or by a written declaration of the after consultation with the parties, to the effect that further efforts are no longer in the sense that you try options and you don't see parties reaching anywhere, and time is the essence, and you realize that this is going to be a dead end. Then with the consultation of the parties, and even the parties agree that no more efforts can be made because they are not willing to budge, then there can be no other option but to terminate the proceeding. The party shall not, yes, this is like a stop procedure. So once you are gone into conciliation, your conciliation proceedings are, there is a bar of jurisdiction and a bar to go ahead with arbitral or judicial proceedings. 78 and 79 deals with costs and deposits. I have not gone great. So conciliator has a right to decide on the cost. Conciliator has a right to call for deposits towards the legitimate expenses, fees, etc. But at the end of it, he has to give a complete account of whatever has been spent and give a refund of what remains with him, etc., etc. So he's held accountable for those deposits. Now, what is the role of a conciliate in other proceedings? So, unless otherwise, the conciliator shall not act as an arbitrator, nor a representative, nor a counsel, nor can be he put forth as a witness. So, none of these roles he can play. There is a complete bar under section 80. Similarly, admissibility of evidence in other proceedings. So parties are not allowed to rely on whatever the conversations that it is without prejudice. So those will be held, shared, etc. within those four corners, and then from there nothing goes out of the room. Therefore, now we have learned about conciliation. We have learned about under the Arbitration Act, what all can be, what are the rules and the law with regard to conciliation. Therefore, then who is a conciliator? So a conciliator is like an administrative judge and is responsible for helping two parties to come to an agreement or negotiate terms outside of the court. They are neutral. no way they can take share of one of the side, one of the parties, however strong they have the feeling of right and wrong. They have to maintain a total implicit unbiased attitude towards them. Now, if you want to be a conciliator, since we are today, I have been given this onerous task of conciliation skills. So I thought I'll go and check on roles and responsibility as a conciliator. Abhijit, next one here. Thank you. Hold meetings, of course. When you hold meetings with the parties, what do you say? Your body language. So the same what we learned in negotiation. The brief is already with you. Parties have filed their claims before you. The other side has filed the defense before you. So you go through all of it. You decide that, once you open the meeting and you give them the ground rules, who will go first. You have confidence. You know your law. You know if one of the parties go out of hand, they become frustrated. They become highly emotional, charged, because of which the other party is suffering. So how do you bring decorum? How do you bring them back onto the table? If a particular option generation is reached to an end, how do you learn to create options, etc., etc.? How you have a contingent thing in your this to give them as an offer? How do you learn to generate offers along with them, etc., etc.? All the while maintaining neutral position. Uh, you have a right to review relevant documents, so you should be well versed with the documents. The document may be called a leave license, but when you read it, you come to know there's nothing leave license about it. It is a completely a what you can say, it's a loan agreement. Or these little nuances of skill are a must for a conciliator if you have to act as a conciliator and bring about a settlement between the parties. Then how do you handle witnesses and other person? You have to be fully equipped with them. Call for statements. How do you prepare a settlement agreement? How will the settlement agreement prepared in such a way that they don't have to go back on it? They honor it. It is put in a stratified manner so that all dates are stipulated over there, and there is a natural fluid corollary to the events which is going to take. So person A will do this, after that the person B will have to do this. He has to do it within 10 days, but he can only do it if the bank agrees. So he has to go to the bank and he has to get the statement, and he has to put that paper, give a copy to the other side, then the other side can take an action. All these small details, since the conciliator has been there throughout, he is the only one conversant with putting all this into place. So settlement agreement and practice confidentiality, very important. Practicing confidentiality is stop the urge to go and run your mouth everywhere about the matter. Okay, now what are the skills? So if you look up, whatever we have done till now, you feel you need to have critical thinking. So if a problem is presented and two people have come to you, it means that they have failed in resolving that between themselves, and therefore you have been appointed as a neutral to help them and resolve this. So you have to critically think about this problem in that way, and therefore you have to learn mindfulness. You have to learn to generate options. You have to give this option in a palatable fashion, good enough for them to think about it, assimilate it, and come up with better options. And understand their difficulties, understand their underlying needs, beyond which they are never going to cooperate with you. Second, written communication. Yes, you must be well versed to communicate them digitally via email, WhatsApp, a proper letter, applications, documents, affidavits. You should be well versed in all of that. Verbal communication. Yes, all forms of verbal communication, including body language, including the way you use your hands, the way you give facial expression, encouraging expressions. So, like a simple example I will give you to, take a lighter note on the lecture. Like some people have this habit of when we say yes, yes, they will say yes, yes. So the head goes no, no, when they're actually the mouth is saying yes, yes. So these are some nuances you need to practice to look yourself more approachable. When people look at you, they feel like coming to you, sharing their problems, being more approachable, making them come on the table with things which they didn't imagine they were capable of. Okay. Organization, yes, very important. Suppose you do not know the series by which things have to be done, and some things are done which can't be undone, and it will be too late for being undone. So you have to seriously organize things in such a way. So have the claimants file, then let the statement of defense come, then let them file the additional document. So you have to be well prepared. Of course, my favorite, active listening. Listen, 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 and more listen. There's never enough listening. Interpersonal communication, definitely a skill. So you may be very, very adept at communicating, but the moment you have a particular type of conversation, you may not be able to, be such a skilled as you generally are. So you may communicate well with the judges. Being a lawyer, I know how to communicate with the judges, or I may know how to communicate with parties. But if I'm being made a conciliator because of my adversarial role in court, I may never be able to mitigate myself, to voice myself down and act as a conciliator or act as a mediator. That is something which you acquire. Legal competency, of course. Without legal competency, you do not know within the framework of what law you want to have a settled agreement, or whether the agreement reached between the parties is legally binding or not. Tomorrow it could be that you have an agreement signed, and when they go for execution, the court tells you that there can be no such agreement. It is an unfructuous agreement. It is an agreement which cannot at all be executed. What do you do then? So therefore, legal competency is a must. So thank you very much. Within the time frame, I have tried and
Thank you very much, ma'am. If anyone want to ask any question, if you
Yes,
have any.
please, please, please.
Yes, anyone? Or you could put that question in chat box if you want.
Yeah, chat box, or they could even email to me at any time. You can also, Abhijit, share my slides with them. I think there are about 91 slides I've worked on.
Okay.
Mostly, all of that I attribute to Google and PON, that is a program on negotiation by Harvard, and also the books of which I've already referred there, William Urie's book, Getting to an Yes. So basically that material, but any difficulty that you might have, you may not agree, I would really be very, very happy to work on any point that you would like me to work and come back to.
Yes, ma'am. I will surely share your PPTs with all
Yes,
of them.
yes.
And if any case, yes, please.
Ma'am, any Indian author on the books for conciliation?
Indian author on books for conciliation. So you might want to refer to books on Industrial Disputes Act. Industrial Dispute Act, there is a mandatory provision. What happens is when workers get into a conflict and they have a dispute within the meaning of Industrial Dispute Act, both of them have to file conciliatory proceedings before the conciliator who sits in the labor court. And the moment he hears the parties just like a conciliator, and the moment he files a failure report, the party or the workman, along with that failure report, goes to court. Only then his writ is allowed in the High Court. So maybe books on industrial dispute resolution is a good book to go to for conciliation. Otherwise, Arbitration and Conciliation Act, any commentary is good for conciliation. There are loads and loads of books on arbitration and conciliation. So chapter 3, as I said, is on conciliation. So any book, there are lots of books in the market. But for mandatory conciliation, I was saying refer to Industrial Disputes Act. Yeah. Any other question? If you're asked a question like on skills of conciliator and all that, I think Google gives a lot of material on foreign authors who have worked extensively in the field. They have done loads of research and shared it also for download and all, and even invited your views on that. I mean, you could really take help from that.
Any other question?
Either I was too fast or either the knowledge was so elementary.
No, ma'am, that is not. You are good.
Okay. So
I think they have understood the topic thoroughly. That's why.
thank you, Abhijit. You are
So
always so kind.
I would like to thank our resource persons, Dr. Gitanjali Prabhu Shetty ma'am, for her meticulous and precise explanation about the negotiation and conciliation skill. And thank you very much, ma'am, for your word of wisdom. I would like to also mention a special thanks to our Honorable Professor Dr. Dilip Uke sir and also Professor Dr. Anilji Variath, respected Registrar of MNLU Mumbai, for motivating us to conduct such webinar. I would like to thank Dr. Anant Rao sir, Assistant Professor of Law and Head of PG Department at MNLU Mumbai, and Ms. Pooja Kulkarni for organizing such informative webinar on such informative topic. And also a big thanks to all the participants for being so patient and cooperative. So with your permission, ma'am, I would be declaring the closure of program. Thank you very
Yes.
much.
Let me also thank everybody. I once again thank everybody at MNLU for having me, and I would really love to come again on some good topic and be of assistance to you. Thank you
Sure,
so
ma'am.
much. Thank you, Abhijit. Thank you to you also. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Pooja. Thank you very much.